Hi, I'm Dana, and I've recently sort of accidentally stumbled into doing a little series about autistic emotions. It's not something I ever thought that deeply into, I suppose, and especially as someone who I really struggle to tell what I'm feeling and to regulate emotions, and I just sort of try not to deal with any of them a lot of the time. So I do feel like this is quite a beneficial thing for me, and if I'm going through that, I feel like other people probably do the same thing. So hopefully it can be helpful to some other people as well. I don't really know. As always, it's just me talking about my experiences and figuring things out for myself, and if it's helpful and relatable to other people, that's fantastic. If not, then that's fine. It's okay. You don't need to comment and tell me that you don't personally relate, so that means I'm not autistic. It's fine. So I've already done anger and love, so I'll link the last one up here right about now, hopefully. And I think I'm going to keep it going with the sort of doing negative and then a positive and then a negative and a positive. So in this one I want to talk a little bit about sadness and just the autistic emotion of being sad, because it's one of those things where I spent a very long time being misdiagnosed as being depressed, being bipolar, possibly having BPD. There were all sorts of misdiagnoses going on because of the way that I experience emotions so intensely, and especially sadness being a very, very big one. I find it very hard to stop being sad, and it's one of the emotions that I also have a natural reaction with, because I expressed when we were talking about anger, and I think a little bit with love as well, I often I feel all of the feeling, and it's a very, very strong feeling, it's all of this emotion, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it, I don't know how I'm supposed to show the emotion, I don't know what I'm meant to say, I don't know what my face is meant to do or what my body's meant to do. If I'm angry and other people punch something, I feel silly, it feels like an act, it's not a natural reaction to the emotion that I'm feeling, whereas sadness is one of the few where I will cry, I have that very natural reaction to being sad, and I don't feel like I can control it in the way that other people can. And as an adult, I don't put myself into many situations that will make me sad or have negative reactions or whatever, you can definitely claim that I isolate myself to a degree to not have to be in those situations, so it's not something that I feel like I've experienced all that recently. But there were so many times growing up, and especially in school and with my parents, even as and a lot in my last relationship as well, where they would say something that hurt me and upset me and made me sad, something would have happened in the day that made me sad. Whatever's gone on, I'm sad for the reason, and I would cry because I can't help it, I can't control that. That is my natural reaction to being sad, is to cry. And the people around me would be like, it's not that bad, no one else is crying, why are you crying, just stop it. And it's one of those things where I'm it's embarrassing, if I could just not do it, I wouldn't be doing it. If I could just stop, I would have stopped. And it's one of those things where I don't know if that's just people around me being shitty, or if it's a case of other people can just control and regulate their emotions in a way that they would be able to just stop in that situation, and I am being some sort of outlier by not being able to control that and not being able to make myself stop. But again, very similarly to when I feel anger, it's the type of thing that I find very difficult to get over and not ruminate on, and even to the point of I feel like rumination so often considered to be you just overthinking it and you just keep thinking about it, and I'll give that sometimes I definitely do that, and it's the thing of I can't make myself stop thinking about it. Even when I'm trying to distract myself, the thought just keeps popping back and I can't not think about it. And other times it'll be the thing of I will just be going through the motion day after day after day and be I'm so freaking sad, and like I said, I can't control the way that I outwardly show that, so I will I've had weeks especially when my last relationship was starting to go under, when the relationship before that was really going under, and I was realizing how horrible it was when I first cut off my mum. I will have these weeks and weeks and weeks where I just feel so cripplingly sad, and I will just be going about normal things in my day and be oh shit, I'm crying, I'm just so sad that I'm crying while I'm just trying to cook my dinner or make a cup of tea, and I'm not, I am experiencing the sadness, but it's not in the way that I expect to find myself crying, I'm not sat there really deeply feeling it and processing it or whatever. It's just happening to me for days and days and weeks because I don't know how to regulate it and process it and get over it. And obviously when I've described that to doctors in the past and other medical professionals, they've been honey, that's depression. And it's one of those things that I for a long time agreed with, and now I really, really disagree with, because it's just plain and simply not depression. It's that I don't have a way to regulate and process and get over that emotion in the way that other people seem to be able to. And bear in mind, I was diagnosed as depressed when I was 11 or 12, I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And it's one of those things where I fully see why it sort of outwardly looked like depression, but it also wouldn't have taken all that much digging to be like, oh, like they're sad about this event, and then they were sad about it for like 3 weeks. And right when they were getting over it, another thing happened that made them sad, you know? Like, because in school, it was just constant, you know, like I was bullied quite severely, so it felt like every time I was starting to get over something and starting to like sort of feel okay again, something else would happen that just put me straight back into the exact place that I was before. And it felt like I had so little control over anything in my life, and that's where I started to like have a lot of anxiety. And it's also going to make you anxious when you start having to expect these things to happen because they keep happening. And beyond that, I think one of the things that I've so often struggled with is that it feels like other people just ignore so much, you know? Like, I would have occasions that I would like talk to friends or like my parents and be like, I am so sad about like my life situation, where I am in life, the way that this happens, the way that this goes on, this thing in the world, I'm so sad about all of these things. And they'd be like, yeah, but everyone's sad about those things, you've just got to deal with it, you've just got to get over it, you've just got to carry on. And I'd be like, I can't, like, I don't understand how everyone else is just putting it to the back of their minds and not thinking about it and just never having it pop up for them, you know? It's not that I'm sat there forcing myself to think about it and keeping it in my mind. It's that I just see the evidence and like the consequences of all these little things that are making me sad, and they're there all the time. I don't understand how everyone else manages to just put blinkers on and ignore them, you know? And it especially was really hard because it felt like I would be stuck in that position forever, you know? Like, any time that I felt sad, it felt like I was going to feel sad forever. And I do think that I feel sad about specific things for a much longer time than other people would if they experienced those same things. So it just felt like it went on forever and ever and ever all the time, you know? And like I'd spend like the 3 weeks feeling really sad about this thing that happened in school, and right when I was feeling better about it, my mum would get really annoyed that I've been so down in the dumps and start shouting at me, so then I feel really sad again because, oh, I've disappointed my mother. You know, it just never fucking stopped. And I think that's again where, when I was going and speaking to medical professionals, that sounds like depression, isn't it? Like, I'm sad all the time and it feels like every time I'm about to be okay again, I'm sad again. Like, I see why the very, very base sort of outward view of my symptoms lined up with that, but it still angers me and disappoints me to some degree that no one ever bothered to look further into that. And a diagnosis that I was given as a 12-year-old with my mother speaking for me was then, you know, I had that stuck on me until I was diagnosed in 2019. It's insane. But I very genuinely don't think that I ever had any sort of like actual like chemical like medical depression. I had all of these reasons, and I still have lots of reasons, you know, but it's also one of the things where, as much as I felt like I would be in it forever, it's one of the things that I am able to cope with better now, because I have been able to sort of put things into place in my life and create a life that I like a lot more. So there's a lot more things that pull me out of it and cheer me up and make me happy again. But I do also feel like, to some degree, that is just ignoring the feeling, and it's not actually processing it, it's just burying it under other stuff until I don't have to deal with it, you know? And I think I do that for a lot of emotions in a lot of different ways. But especially with sadness, it so often feels like such a pointless emotion for me that I will just do whatever the fuck I can to cheer myself up and get over it and not have to think about it or deal with it, you know? And especially because I feel like it's so often over things that are completely out of my control. You know, like, one of the main things that prompted me to think about this was that I saw a TikTok video from someone saying that like they'd recently lost their dad, and asking like, do you ever stop feeling this like crippling sadness over it? And it was so, like, it really got me into my own head about it for like 15 minutes. I had to like pause it and just like sit there, because I was the type of person, like, as I've explained in all the videos, where I would like lay in bed and cry at night over the idea of my dad dying. Like, that was, I couldn't imagine a worse thing ever happening to me in my life than my dad dying. And then he died when I was 18, and it fucking sucked, you know? Like, the first like 3 days, I remember just laying on the couch, and my boyfriend was having to make me meals and getting really fucking upset about having to feed me after my dad had just died. And I just laid there because I was like, I don't know how I'm ever going to like feel like a normal fucking person again. Like, this sadness is so all encompassing and overwhelming and overbearing, and like, there is nothing else left anymore. And I literally was like, I don't know how I'm ever going to function or like act or look like a normal person ever again in my life, because this is the worst thing that could ever possibly happen to me, and I'm so fucking sad. And now we're here 9 years on, and I don't I don't want to say this in like some like horrible, heartless way, because, you know, like, I had my dad, and his mum died when he was like 8 years old, and even when I was like asking him questions about it and stuff, he would start crying and get really, really sad about not having his mum and her not seeing all these different things he had done with his life and so on and so forth. And, you know, to me, that's the idea, like normalised idea I have of how grief works, is that it's something that just sort of stays within you, and it is very, very sad, and it is very, very hard. And then when you're talking about it, or when you bring it up again, it like bubbles up, but otherwise it's just like buried down. And it's one of those things that I just don't feel like it's the case for me, because yesterday at church the service was largely about fathers, with it being Father's Day, which again like made me think a lot about my dad and his passing and everything. And it's one of those things where I just don't feel anything about it anymore. Like, I don't know if it's really shitty of me, I don't know if it's because I didn't process it, I don't know if it's because I didn't have like the best relationship with my dad anyway. I think there's like a multitude of reasons that could go into it. But like, when I think about my dad now, I don't really feel anything about it, you know. I'm just like, yeah, I had him for a while, he died, you know. I don't really feel particularly sad about it. I don't really feel any grief anymore. I feel worse about the fact that I don't feel anything than anything that I feel about it, you know. My main emotion is just like, I wish I could get another one, to be honest with you. I would really like to have like a healthy, positive male role model in my life, because I don't feel like I've had one, even having had the dad that I have, you know? That dad that I had. But that was a sadness that I expected to last forever. And now 9 years on, I really don't feel anything about it. I'm not sad. It's just a thing that fucking happened. It sucked at the time, but you deal with it, you know? And that's one of the things that I think is probably like down to autistic black and white thinking as well, because I've seen how other people react to their parents' deaths, even like years and decades after their parents died, and I just don't feel that. I just don't have that. I do feel kind of bad about it, but I just don't. But with where I am in life now, and the way that I've like built my life to be able to have like daily little like pick me ups and cheer ups and keep a really positive surrounding to myself kind of thing, it's so fucking weird to think back on how many straight up years I was just sad for, you know? Like, it really didn't feel like it was ever going to end or get better. And it's the type of thing that I definitely still like have little moments of. Like, when I first came back from the US, and we'd had like a month of fucking LA and Arizona sun, and then I came back and it was just the UK, and it was raining and it was fucking grim, and I'd spent the last month sat on a bench looking at a fucking orange tree. Like, that was sad, you know? Like, I felt just so fucking sad, and I was sat here and I was like, I'm literally never going to get used to the UK ever again now I know that it's actually like better in so many other places. But here we are a couple months later and I'm completely used to it again, and I'm still sad I'm here. I wish I was in the US, but I don't like feel the sadness and need to cry, you know? I think that might be what I'm getting at, actually. That's why these videos are helpful, because it's one of those things where I feel like I only feel the thing at the time. Like, at the time when the thing is happening, I feel the emotion like so physically. I feel it so big and deeply, and like it's all encompassing. And once it's a past thing, once it's gone, I can't re-summon that emotion. That was just for the time. It's stored with the memory now. Like, I can't make it come back. I can't just feel that way because I remembered it, you know? I don't know. Maybe other people can't anyway. I have no idea. That's the thing. I don't know how other people function. I don't know how other people's emotions work. As much as I'm like, I feel like mine are really huge. I don't know. Maybe everyone feels like that, and other people really are just better at coping at it. Like, I don't know. I'm just talking about my point of view and my experience, and we are now done talking about being sad. I don't think there's going to be that many more of these videos, quite frankly, because I don't feel like there's all that many emotions. Like, I feel like my emotions are very like inside out. Like, there's going to be like 6 tops, you know? But yeah, if there's anything in specific you want me to talk about, please do comment down below, and I would probably like get around to making a video about the topic that you want. I would also just love to hear anything you have to say about this topic in general, emotions in general, sadness in general. Any thoughts that this video prompts that you'd like to share, I would love to hear. I post videos on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Sundays, so if you want to stick around and watch more of little old me, you can subscribe, you could like this video, there's loads of stuff you could do, and it'd be really cool if you did. You can also follow me over on TikTok, where I post like multiple times a week, nearly daily. I was posting daily at one point, so there's loads of like back catalogue for you to look through if you want to. I don't know. I post quite fun things over on Instagram, and if if you really like me and want to pay me some money, I also have Ko-fi and Patreon. Patreons get uploads slightly earlier than YouTube. I am so genuinely gonna get back on it and have things like actually scheduled and make it all like, again, it's just taking me a hot minute because life's so stressful and horrible. But yeah, all of that will be linked down below. There's no pressure to do any of it. If you don't like me, you can just leave, it's fine. I don't care that much, honestly, at this point. But yeah, that was the video. So whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I will see you again in a couple of days.